Let's go ahead and get started. This is a Livingston Parish Council meeting. All public notices have been sent out, and today being September the 22nd, and so the memorandums have been sent and public notices have been made, so this is an official Livingston Parish meeting, September the 22nd. Before we get started, let's stand for an invocation. I think Mr. Scooter, did you happen to have someone?
Deacon Rudy Stahl.
Mr. Rudy Stahl is here. You want to come up and give an invocation, please?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the many blessings you've given us here in Livingston Parish. We hold up to you our families, friends, and neighbors who are struggling. We ask you to be with them, to guide them through this. Let them know that you are with them. We ask you to send your blessings upon this meeting. Give us the courage and strength to make wise decisions, decisions that will benefit all the people of Livingston Parish now and for years to come. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Let's face the flag. Mr. Bubba Harris, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Deacon.
Thank you, Mr. Bubba. You might want to, just a quick reminder, just check your cell phones if you don't mind, just so nobody's embarrassed or anything. To get started, Miss Sandy, would you call the roll to make sure we have a quorum here tonight officially?
Yes, sir. Mr. King.
Here.
Mr. Harris.
here.
Mr. Talbert.
Here.
Mr. Ard.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Garlinghouse.
Here.
Mr. Averett.
Here.
Mr. Mack.
Here.
Mr. Lobell.
He's absent today. Mr. Lobell couldn't make it. Also, item 6 is public input, just to let everyone know that on any item, if there's an item that you want to speak on, please raise your hand and you'll be acknowledged by the chair and have the floor. If you do speak, come to the podium, give your name and address, and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, just for timely purposes. The next item on the agenda is a presentation. I'd like to turn this over to Mr. Tracy Garlinghouse, the co-chair for the Livingston Parish Council, and Mr. Jeff Ard as well. And I think they're going to come to the front. They're going to give a special presentation to a special person, and no one here even knows who it's for, except a few of us. So this will be a surprise.
So everyone is reeling, I know, from the flood and just all the tragic events in Livingston Parish and the surrounding areas went through. There were many acts of selflessness and just hard work, and people just dedicating themselves to the community to a point almost where it kind of, moves you to see it happen. I know for a fact that this person that I'm presenting this to went above and beyond. The day of, I think it was a Sunday morning of the flood, he was already going up to the, I think, the Office of Emergency Preparedness or the Sheriff's Office to cook breakfast for them. And already giving of himself in his time. Now, he doesn't know that we were doing this for him, so he's catching him off guard right now. But when he went to go to his restaurant, which is Sombreros in Walker, it was flooded. So I think there was someone who was pulling their boat along, just a citizen, and they got in the boat and went and helped evacuate the assisted living center, which is right there down the street from his business. Then he went to his business and got some food, and along with Nick, the owner of Food Chow, they went to Carter's and cooked food for just anybody.
Everybody.
And he stayed there during the duration. Tommy is just the epitome of what it means to be a good citizen and just selfless acts. He's a good man, and I know there was a lot of people, and I wish I could recognize all of them, that gave of themselves just selflessly. Tommy has done this before the flood, and just giving himself to the community. I know that he's a good man and a good friend, and it moves me, because, I mean, he just comes into the community and made it his home. You know, if you've been to Sombreros, and if you haven't been, I really, really urge you to go. He treats every customer truly like it's like their family, and he knows them, and they're the only customer in the business, in the building at the time. So, I'm gonna read this plaque here. It says, it's a certificate of appreciation recognizing outstanding citizenship presented to Tommy Stoyak, awarded this day, September 22nd, 2016. Thank you for your service and sacrifice during the great flood of 2016. Tommy. We appreciate it.
Anytime, I'm part of the community, always been and always will be. And I thank y'all very much. This is really kind.
All right, do you want to get a picture?
Yep.
Let's go up there, do a picture.
This is you get.
Well, I was gonna let this side.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank y'all very much.
It's a good deal, guys. You brought
Sorry for tricking you getting here.
Work good.
He didn't know. He really didn't know. Sitting in the crowd. So.
It's nice to be able to have presentations like that. And today you get a special treat because we have another presentation. But this one was requested by Mr. Shane Mack. And I think it's here for a couple things. And without me talking, you do a better job than I do, Shane.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wanted to recognize two individuals tonight. One of them is Noah Tate. He is a Boy Scout. And Noah, can you come on up to the podium? Tell us what group you're with and why you're attending the meeting, and give us a little bit of information. Sure appreciate you coming.
I came here to earn my citizenship in the community merit badge, so I can finish up Boy Scouts to become Eagle.
Great.
Yeah,
Sure appreciate you coming, Noah.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a lot,
much.
buddy.
Eagle Scouts make better council members too. I'm just letting you know. Shane, did you want to talk a little bit about a dog show?
I do. We also want to recognize Miss Suzanne Boletto. She is with the Every Dog Club, and they having a fall fundraiser out at Albany High School on November the 12th, 2016, and she's here to give us a little bit of information about that.
Hi, I just want to say y'all can relax, stop holding your breath. I'm not selling anything, okay? Other than a good time. I'd like to thank you, Councilman Shane Mack, for your assistance in placing me on the agenda this evening. And I recognize that the council has a full agenda this evening, and I appreciate you allowing me a few minutes of your time. My name is Suzanne Boletto, Vice President of Every Dog Club Incorporated, established April 2015. And we're based in Walker, Louisiana. And I also would like to introduce Jessica McMorris, our club secretary. She's the one that does an excellent job in keeping the club in line and on task. I'm excited to announce that Albany is going to the dogs on Saturday, November the 12th for our 2015 Fall Fundraising Dog Show. We are honored that Albany High School will provide a venue near the baseball field. Should this event be rained out on November the 12th, our rain date is November the 19th, 2015. Registration begins at 9 a.m. Showing starts at 10 a.m. This event is a non-sanctioned, all-breed, registered or non-registered, pedigree or mixed, breeder or shelter rescue, tiny or huge, short hair or long hair, dog show. The entry fee is $10 per dog per class. Admission is free to watch. And there will be a dog costume contest, which is always a crowd favorite. We welcome our youth, beginners, and experienced dog handlers to participate in this dog show. And dog-related vendor space will also be available for $20 per vendor space. We offer optional tips and practice show training classes for $5 per dog per session that run about 1 hour each. And the same material is covered at each class, so there's no need to attend them all. Pre-registration is required for these training classes. Information to pre-register is on the training flyer. In addition to spending quality time with your faithful companions and taking a break from rebuilding, this event will also be a canine fundraiser. Since the 2016 flood, Every Dog Club has agreed to donate a portion of our proceeds from this event to an organization or organizations close to home who have taken care of the dogs rescued from the flood or those still caring for those dogs. Careful research and consideration will be conducted by our club members. By November, we will have a final decision where our donation will be of most benefit. At this time, we are leaning toward the Humane Society of Louisiana Disaster Relief Animal Shelter that has set up in Amite, as they are still taking care of some of these dogs. Some of them are rescues, and again, some of them are there because the owners cannot have the dogs in the place that they are now. So this Humane Society is taking care of them for them. In the packet provided is our event flyer, show program, training schedule, sponsorship letter and form, Every Dog Club information about our club, our incorporation certificate, our 501c3 filing, and our insurance certificate. So we are legit. Additional flyers and programs and sponsorship forms are available on our website at www.everydogclub.org and our Facebook page, Every Dog Club. And we also have extras here with us tonight, should you want any more of them to take with you. So on behalf of Every Dog Club, we invite all of our dog lovers, including you, your family, and friends, to come and have a tail-wagging good time. We always welcome new club members any time of the year, and we ask that you help us help those who helped our faithful companions. We ask for your support for this event, assist in publicity, and assistance in securing sponsorship, and we are Livingston Strong. Lastly, we would love to meet your dog. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Thank you
Did a
for
good
all you
job.
do.
Pardon?
Thank you for supporting the parish in times like this with a flood. And appreciate what you do.
Thank you so much. Well, the main thing is sponsorship. You have the forms in your packet. Not only you, but if you can spread the word about that and come out to the event, have a good time, take a break from rebuilding for a little bit. I know LSU games help a lot, but this is in the morning, so you will not miss an LSU game.
We have someone else, I think, wants to speak on.
Yes, sir. I have my business cards.
And anyone else wants to get a phone number, they can just see this nice lady here. Catch her during the meeting.
Thank you so much.
Shane?
Shane?
Yep, thank you very much, Ms. Suzanne.
Quite welcome. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is, let's pick up item A1 on your addendum. I think each one of you have an addendum. And what this is for is the adoption of a resolution to approve a memorandum of understanding between the following parties: the Louisiana Department of State, Office of the Secretary of State, the Livingston Parish Clerk of Court, the Livingston Parish Registrar of Voters, the Livingston Parish Council. And this is just real quick because of people being displaced for the flood. A lot of these have come together to create a centralized location for expanded hours, I believe, for early voting coming up this year, because you don't want people to not be able to make it to vote because of the displacement, because of the flood. So would you take just a moment, and Mr. Ardoin, Kyle, is that correct? Kyle Ardoin, would you let us know the plans and answer some questions if you have any?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman and members, thank you for this time. I introduce to you also our Commissioner of Elections, Andy Rogers, who is with us. We do want to thank you all for seeing us, and of course, you've been in our prayers throughout this whole ordeal. A good number of our employees were also impacted in this area, and we were strong out there supporting them as well. So the Secretary of State sends his regards, Secretary Shedler. He wishes he could be here tonight, but he is out of state at his grandchild's confirmation. Very quickly, this MOU highlights that 9 precincts, we were able to locate a facility at Jubin Crossing free of charge by the owners of that facility to allow us to move some impacted precincts. And additionally to that, not only those 9 precincts, but we're able to open up early voting, an additional early voting site at that facility that will allow individuals to participate in the upcoming presidential election at that location. So it won't be just the Registrar of Voters office, it'll also be Jubin Crossing. And we're really appreciative to Creekstone Companies for working with us on that. Real quickly, the precincts that we are moving to Jubin Crossing is precinct 24, which was at Southside Junior High School, will now be at Jubin Crossing. Precinct 24B, also Southside Junior High School, will be at Jubin Crossing. Precinct 24C, precinct 25, Denham Springs City Hall. Denham Springs City Hall will move to Denham Springs Junior High. Precinct 26, Denham Springs Elementary will be at Jubin. Precinct 26A, B, C will be at Jubin Crossing. That's Denham Springs Elementary as well. Then precinct 28, Southside Elementary will be at Jubin Crossing, and precinct 28B will also be at Jubin Crossing. We really appreciate the cooperation of your outstanding 2 officials that are our partners in the elections process, and that is your clerk of court and your registrar of voters. We couldn't have done this without them. The law requires us to work with them, but they have been fantastic partners, and they've put themselves second and put their jobs first.
I believe they're here tonight, Mr. Jared Andrews and Mr. Tommy Sullivan. Thank y'all so much for being here tonight and answering questions. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, sir. Once you all approve that, we'll provide the parish president a copy of the memorandum for signing. Both the clerk and registrar and the secretary have already signed it. So we appreciate your cooperation, and we hope that this helps you all and your citizens to be able to participate in the election more easily.
Good.
So we're gonna have two early voting sites, basically Jubin Crossing and the registrar's office.
Correct.
And then we're gonna have one super precinct at Jubin Crossing for all those displaced.
Correct.
Are the hours gonna be the same as normal, or are they gonna be same as?
Same.
And it'll just be temporary just for this
Just for
presidential
this
election.
election?
For that
This
one
one
week.
and the runoff to follow on the
Just
state
November
stuff.
8th and December 10th.
Okay.
That's it.
I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Tower to adopt the resolution, second by Mr. Jeff Averett. Any discussion? Tom, Jared, do y'all have anything you want to add to it, or?
Just basically, we appreciate the working relationship, as I said, with these guys. We're gonna try to make this as painless as possible. We're gonna send out a letter to all the candidates that are running for office, gonna be affected, and we anticipate a large crowd being presidential election, so we're gonna do our best to have some shuttle buses and everything available, so it's, like I said, painless as
Okay.
possible.
Additionally, Mr. Chairman, we are preparing a mail out to all the affected registered voters
Oh,
in
that's
these
good.
precincts to be notified where their precinct will be moved to and the early voting.
That's
site.
good.
And the Secretary of State was nice enough, we're gonna have people posted at all the old locations, they're all during the day, direct somebody, you know, to where they're.
Okay, that's
So,
great.
We appreciate that.
And I guess the newspaper, would y'all want a copy of those? Oh, you probably already have that. We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion, Ms. Cindy?
Can I just verify what y'all are voting on, what you're adopting?
This is the resolution for the memorandum, for adoption resolution to approve a memorandum of the understanding between the following parties.
And authorizing the parish president to sign it?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank y'all.
thank you.
I had a motion by Mr. Talbot, second by Mr. Averett. Any discussion? None being, Ms. Sandy, would you call for the vote, please?
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Garlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda, item 8. Let's go ahead and pick up 8. Adopt a resolution to call for an election on March the 25th, 2017 for Recreation District Number 5 to renew a 15-meal, 10-year ad valorem tax. This was requested by Mr. Jim Ryan, I believe. It's on the agenda. I don't know if anyone else is here to speak for it, but Mr. Darrell Jones, did you want to speak for it? Oh,
Mr. Chairman, this is simply a resolution to renew the existing tax relief appropriations from 5.
okay.
And Jim, this request was passed, that's the district sent this request to?
Yes, it was last week.
What, do you remember what the vote on that was?
It was unanimous.
Okay, so the request was sent by the Recreation District to you?
No. What happens, Mr. Chairman, is with all my clients, every parish, Plaquemine, Ascension, Livingston, Kansas, that came all about, we always send a list out every year. And generally, I work with Sandy, and usually it's in March, and I send her a list every year of all of the property taxes that are coming up that expire the following year, because it's a very long
Okay.
process. And then Sandy and I, if I know who they are, if I know, I'll call and say, hey, you've got a tax coming up next year, pick a date, let me know, and we'll do it. If I don't know them, I get in touch with Sandy and say, I'm not sure who to contact at Rec District Number 5. If you'll send them an email, or even we call them, like we called them probably last March, and said, you've got a tax coming up in 2017, you know, pick a date on here's your four dates for a ballot, and what do y'all wanna do?
Okay.
And that's how it usually kicks
So
off.
you informed Sandy, and that's how it made it to the.
Right,
Thank
and
you.
then they reach out to me and say, this is the date we want, you know, ask them for a bunch of information, who your board members, where you meet, what's your official journal, blah, 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 blah. We have to notice that meeting before they take action. The meeting was noticed, and we went last week to the meeting, and the resolution was adopted. And so the next step would be you all to approve the resolution calling the election. Then it would go to, we would make application to the State Bond Commission. It would be heard by the State Bond Commission. Then we go to Secretary of State's office. Probably still 2 months out before we're officially, at least 2 months out before we're officially on the ballot. This is just kind of the next step in the process.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ryan, I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Ms. Crosby, I believe, am I correct?
Yes.
You just give us your name and address and,
Abby Crosby, I'm in District 6. Actually, I serve on the Recreation District Board. I have been for several years under Councilman Jeff Averett. Last Wednesday, the board voted unanimously to go ahead and move forward with this 15-meal tax under y'all's guidance. And then we spoke to Mr. Ryan. He came to the meeting. So we are asking that y'all do approve this so it can be put on the ballot for the March election, so we can move forward and do this for our community in the district. So we appreciate y'all.
thank you, Ms.
Thank
Crosby.
you.
Okay.
Anyone else to speak for? Mr.
Mayor Jones.
Mayor Darrell Jones. From Livingston. Jonestown, I believe.
I wish. I'm here to speak, to ask the council to delay any action on this renewal, to give the town of Livingston an opportunity to withdraw from District 5. And the reason we'd like to withdraw is we think there is a conflict of interest that exists in as much as the revenue for that district goes primarily to two different parks. District 5 actually owns one of those parks, so we think that constitutes a conflict of interest. We've been unable to locate the original paperwork on how the district got formed in order to proceed with withdrawing. So I would ask the council to postpone this or do whatever you need to do and give us time to withdraw from the district.
How much time do you think would you need for that?
Depends on how soon we can find the parish paperwork.
Okay.
How long
And I
have
know
you been,
everybody's been
how long
real
have you
busy.
been trying to find it so you could withdraw? I mean, approximately, I don't even.
I have talked to probably 5 or 6 attorneys in the last several months. Everybody gives me a different answer, but I think the proper way is gonna be, we gotta find what the original, when the district was formed, and that's in possession of the parish somewhere, and it's old.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, we can't proceed without looking at that. That's what I'm believing is the right path.
So Mayor Jones, just to
Yes,
be clear, you're saying that you want to delay so the city of the town of Livingston can withdraw from the district?
Correct.
That's just the town limits.
Just the town limits, correct.
Miss Sandy, do you have something you want to add?
We did find in 1977 where originally Recreation 5 was created, but there was no mention of the town of Livingston being included in any of the verbiage. And then we found where in 1979 they were recreated and it said the domicile would be, and it was a blank line. So we just looked in what our ordinance says now, and it actually says the domicile is the school board. So we've been trying to, since I talked to Lee, and to find something that ties us together, and we've been unsuccessful so far, but we're gonna keep on persevering till we
We'd
find
just like
something.
an opportunity to track this down, and proceed with whatever steps are necessary for us to withdraw from District 5.
What would that do to District 5 if Livingston
Well,
went through?
it depends on what they want to do. They could have the remaining geography of the district, with the town of Livingston out. They could draw a whole new district, as far as I know, whatever they wanted to do with it.
Mr. Jones,
Yes,
so
sir.
many people enjoy playing baseball and enjoying that district, and if we didn't renew this, wouldn't it just kinda wipe out the revenue that's generated? I mean, how many kids wouldn't
Well,
get to go down there and play baseball?
that is precious to me,
Yes, sir.
and nobody enjoys going to the park and watching those kids better than I do. The distribution of funds over the last several years have been wholly whopped to one park location. The town of Livingston has not reaped its fair share of the funds collected by the taxpayers, that our taxpayers are paying. And that's my job as mayor, is to look out for my taxpayers. I would like an opportunity for us to withdraw, then District 5 can go ahead and pass the tax if they want to. And we'll take care of the park that we own on our nickel. I don't know if I'm making myself clear.
I got something.
Sure. Mr. Sheriff Hagan?
Who had voted in this tax? Was it the people in south of the interstate and north of the interstate?
Yes, sir.
Why don't we let the people decide again? That's my
If they
recommendation.
wanna keep it together or not.
Let them decide.
Jim, couldn't the town of Livingston have their own tax election at the same time if they wanted to?
We could indeed have a tax election. I don't know if simultaneous will work. What do you think, Jim?
I'm not sure, if there's enough time, if they started at their next meeting to get them on the March ballot, which this election is scheduled for the March ballot. For some reason, Councilman Talbot, the ballot deadlines for March are way far out. They probably, without any problem at all, I have no doubt the town could do an April ballot election. Apparently be glad to, you know I don't charge for them, we'd be glad to do it for you.
So, I mean, I guess my my feeling is that the board that currently exists on District 5 requested the election.
Correct.
Those people were appointed by the council. They're a parish board.
Right.
So, I mean, no disrespect, but I think we'll let the people that live within that district make their determination. If y'all wanna move forward with your own district, I see no reason for that to affect what happens within District 5.
Well, in fact, we gotta withdraw from 5. Otherwise, and Jim can help me out with this, the people of the town of Livingston would be bound to paying 2 taxes, one to District 5 and one to a newly created district.
And I think they know that. I mean, I think when the election comes about in March, they'll have that opportunity to voice their opinion about being double taxed. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is, y'all have for months looked for the documents you need without success. And so, there's no saying in the next month that you're gonna solve that issue. So I don't know why that would hinder District 5 from moving forward with their election.
But, I mean, according to what you just said, that the whole structure of District 5, they have no paperwork.
We haven't found it yet, but we're still looking, yeah.
Oh, it's valid. District 5 exists. We just don't know why.
Under what pretense? I mean, she just said they can't find any paperwork.
Well, it exists, but it doesn't identify Livingston by itself as an entity. Am I correct?
I haven't seen what she's talking.
It just identifies Recreation 5.
And
the town of Livingston is nowhere addressed in.
So it just address the geographical area as District 5.
District 5.
Just a question, and I don't know the answer to this. Usually when we create these districts, and this was way before I was born, there's a meets and bounds survey. Usually is there, in the ordinance that created the district, is there a meets and bounds survey that says it's gonna start at, this.
Physical boundaries.
Yes, yes, there is.
So that, you're probably gonna need a title attorney or something like that, someone who can read meets and bounds, or a surveyor to say, start here, go here, to see what was encompassed in that district. Just a thought.
Well, in that case, I would ask you to vote to delay this for at least 30 days. Give us a chance to look at this paperwork. Have our attorney look at the paperwork, see what we can do. But we would very much like to withdraw from District 5. And I appreciate your time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr.
Ms. Abbey, real quick, but I want to ask you a question as well, Mr. Ryan. Go ahead, Ms. Abbey.
The way that the district was set up in, I think it was 76, Crown Zellerback was the logging, the forestry. They donated a piece of property south of the interstate, and that's when everything was taken into the district. As far as the funds and everything, it's been distributed out. We had a gentleman that used to be over our records, and he's since passed away. I've even got with Mr. Averett on this several times. Though his ex-wife gave me all the records. And so I have stacks and stacks of records, even newspaper clippings of even some of the men that served on the board from 76 and 78, bank statements, electricity bills, water bills, everything. We just need to get somebody to look at it, and it clearly states where the boundaries are and everything. Like I said, I wish we could move forward with this. We have been distributing out the monies. We still have a lot to learn. We want to move forward. We want to bring out the best in everything. But if there was something that y'all would like to look at, or someone needs something, Mr. Avery, he knows what I have.
Okay.
So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess I have another question. Mr. Ryan, if by some chance the council does hold off, a couple questions. One is, would holding off, how does that impact, how does that even help the town of Livingston get out of the district? And the second question, if we did hold off, would that kill making the tax renewal for 30 days?
So the first question, I think that really whether you hold off or not tonight doesn't, let me say it this way. If you vote to adopt this resolution tonight, it doesn't mean it's on the March ballot, because there's still a long process to go through. There's many publications. There's the application to the bond commission, which will take a month in and of itself. And there's the Secretary of State's deadline. So, as I said earlier, this is kind of the next step in a very long 6 to 8 month process. So, at any point in time, let's just say, and I'm saying in the next 2 months or 45 days, you all, let's say you pass this tonight, you all come back at your next meeting, maybe after that, and say, we don't want to be on the ballot. We won't have to put it on the ballot. We haven't made an application to the Secretary of State's office yet.
I see what you're saying.
So, and I think, Mr. Chairman, I believe I've done elections before where we actually got them on the ballot and then told the Secretary of State we didn't want to, but we were already on the ballot, so all of the election was technically held. The results of the election were not binding.
We're just not binding.
So I think, you know, as far as helping the town of Livingston
Get out of the district.
get out of this, you know, I'm not an attorney, but the way we create these districts, the way we set them up, and while I die, I think the thing to do would be to find the original ordinance or the current governing ordinance that created the now existing district and amend that ordinance to exclude the meets and bounds of the town of Livingston from that district.
If that be the case, is that just a parish ordinance, or would that have to go to the vote of the people?
Parish ordinance.
So that could be done by parish ordinance?
Correct. You'd have to introduce it, it'd have to lay over, and you have to.
If we find the paperwork.
Yeah,
So-
I think the key is to find the paperwork,
Okay.
the
So
current
we-
governing ordinance.
So if we move forward tonight, we're not, this isn't the final, this is, we can, this
We're
can all
not
be
we're
correct.
not binding the town of Livingston to this. If they come up with what they need to, they can come to us and say, look, we found it, we want to get out.
That's correct. And
I
the
think that'd be
answer
the way
to
to do
your
that.
second question, Mr. Chairman, is if you do vote to delay this tonight, that also doesn't spell gloom and doom for the district by any stretch of the imagination, because while the March election deadlines are, for some reason, way above my head, are very lengthy this year, the April election deadlines are very short. So if you decided to defer this tonight, and let's say you decided to defer it for a month, or whatever, as long as you had an ordinance in place that amended the current ordinance that governs that district, as long as you had a new ordinance in place by, let's say, about Thanksgiving, we could probably fairly easily still get Rec District number 5 on the April ballot. And the difference between the March ballot and the April ballot as far as cost and turnout are gonna go is just negligible. So going forward doesn't commit you to do anything.
Right.
The same, on the same hand, stopping it tonight does not say that Rec District number 5 is not gonna get their money in 2018.
I see what you're saying. You know, that's why I appreciate Mr. Jim Ryan.
Yeah.
He's always to the
Very
facts.
impressed.
And, you
Just tell
know,
us what we need
if
to
there's
know.
any other, county parishes that,
Well, it's not that I really want to,
I
Mr.
think
Chairman,
that's
it's
a
that I
great
have a federal fiduciary responsibility under
Oh, well,
security
thanks.
exchange
We
laws.
thought you were doing it just for us.
Jeff Art?
Jim, if we went forward with this and it got on the ballot and it didn't pass, because now there's mixed emotions, you're gonna have people in Livingston, I'm not sure if I'm supposed to vote for this, not vote for that, we might get pulled out, and it doesn't pass. How hard is it gonna be to try to get this back rolling to where
Okay,
the
so-
district doesn't lose money and we have no money for their recreation?
That's a great question, Jeff, and, you know, I've talked to you and Bodine and John and a bunch of people for the last 24 hours. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and then no one's asked me that one, but I think the answer to it would be, let's say it fails in March. Let's say you move forward and it fails in March. Again, you know, I'm gonna say, let's assume that right after that, you guys could adopt an ordinance amending the boundaries of the district to take the town of Livingston out, and then March, April, May, June, July, August, September, hit October or November ballot. And should be fairly easy to hit one of those ballots. The only downfall with that is going to be, there you are, Mr. Bodine. Mr. Averett, Councilman Averett, the only downfall with that is going to be if, let's say that scenario goes, fails in March, we come back October, November, it would not be levied in the 2017 calendar year, which means in 2018, Town of Livingston's out, Rec 5 for 2018 gets nothing. They would miss a year's worth of revenue until
Can't allow that to happen.
2019.
And that's if it's voted down, but that could happen either way. Right.
That's correct. Yeah, the problem you run into, and I know a lot of y'all know this, is so if you get it approved or renewed on one of the spring ballots, then you have time to get it on the assessor's rolls, which you all certify every August, September. You certify the entire parish roll of the assessor. If you get the election in the spring, you have time to get it on the assessment rolls. If you do the election in the fall, you don't have time to get it on the previous year's assessment rolls for payment the following year.
All right.
Right now, if we defer tonight to, say, the next meeting, the worst thing that happens is instead of being on the March ballot, it's on the April ballot. But it would actually give Town of Livingston a little bit of time to look into it. I mean, it's 1 month, so it shouldn't change the vote. The vote should happen, everybody's getting what they want. And it's just a 1 month difference in the election. So,
And if we don't defer tonight, the town of Livingston still has a month to find what they wanna do, and if they can find it, we can stop the election in March.
That's correct. Both of those statements are accurate.
But the board asked us to put this for March. Unanimous.
I'm gonna make a motion, we put it on the March ballot.
Motion by Mr. Jeff Aver to put, move forward with putting it on the March ballot.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Scooter King. Any discussion? None being, Ms. Sandy, you want to call for the vote?
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbert?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
no.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse?
No.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item
Thank you, Jim.
Item 9, adoption of the minutes for the September 8th, 2016 regular meeting of the council. Ladies and gentlemen, council members of the council, you've had copies of this sent in your Dropbox. And if you had any questions, now's the time, but if not, a motion to adopt those minutes would be in order. Motion by Mr. Jeff Ard, second by Mr. Scooter King. Any discussion? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 10, we'll start with the parish president's report. Item A. Mr. Leighton Ricks, Livingston RC&D council member reappointments.
Yes, we had delayed this last time or deferred it so y'all could come up with a couple of names to appoint. If you have them, fine. If not, we can certainly defer it.
Okay. If we do, I don't know if
I have, make a motion, well, actually, Tab called me, he couldn't be here tonight.
Okay.
And on his behalf, he asked me if I'd make a motion to put Mr. Steve Horvath on the board. I think, from what I understand, I think he's already secretary, and we're wanting to make a motion to make him director. Is that correct?
Right.
I need
Ms.
a little
Sandy,
help
can you
here.
clarify this a little bit, please?
Yes, sir. He is on the Soil Conservation Board, so he's already participating, and he
Right.
would love to represent the parish on behalf of us.
Can we
if
do
he
both
could.
of them that we wanna do in one vote?
We can do both of them.
Sure, what's the other?
Kenny Morrison, Mr. Kenny Morrison.
Good choice.
All right, we had a motion by Mr. Shane Mack and second by Mr. Jeff Averett for those two. Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None being, motion carries.
Thank you, council.
Mr. Ricks, item B, request
Item B,
for
I'll
leave
ask
election.
Mr. Harold to come up and if
Yeah.
the council will
Let's
allow
hear a
me
little
to
more
handle
on
the addendums too while he's up here.
I will.
He's getting a little old and it's hard for him to stand very long.
If you'll start off with
But
20231 Linda Lane, Springfield, if you'll start with that one, that'll help me stay on track.
First thing I'll say is, you should thank him that you get to talk to me and not him.
secondly, I really don't give a rat's ass. That's a good one right there.
Thank you, Mark, we needed that one.
That wasn't right. I'm trying to perk everybody up.
Oh, it's-
All right, the first one is a mitigation project that we've completed, and the individual refuses to pay their cost share. And we've done everything in our power to get this to go through. Mr. Chris Moody has sent letters, we've done everything. You're only talking about, you know, $80,000 here approximately. But if we don't get our funding, we jeopardize losing $4 million. That is the grant that they fell in. So I'm asking you to allow Mr. Moody to move forward with a suit or whatever he has to do to collect our funding.
Is this for the 20231 Linda Lane,
Yes,
Springfield, Louisiana?
yes.
Can you expound on that a little bit? That's our mitigation program?
That's
Yes.
one of, that's
To
one of
raise
them.
our-
They come in blocks. This is the
Yep.
$4-point-something million block. This is the only one that we've had an issue with. They have received their ICC funding to cover the cost share. They just, she says it's their funding, they're not gonna pay us.
They spend it somewhere else, is that what happened?
I'm not gonna say, all I'm gonna say is
Okay.
Mr. Moody,
got a new car.
Mr. Moody looked at the contract and,
Okay.
he said that the contract is binding and, they have
So,
to pay it.
we'll move forward. I had a
think-
motion by Mr. Jeff Averett to allow, or a resolution to allow Mr. Moody to move forward with, litigation in this matter. Seconded by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse. Any discussion? Ms. Sandy, you wanna call for the vote on this one, please?
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Okay,
We can do the addendum.
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
yeah, that's fine. If you look on, you have an addendum A3. This is an emergency ordinance establishing the intent, purpose, and guidelines for setting aside the ordinances relative to the temporary use of manufactured homes, motor homes, and travel trailers by the federal government in connection with severe storms flooding that began August 11th. Mark, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we started, looking at different areas to build some group sites that we talked about the last go around. Thinking that, my ignorance, I'm just gonna admit it, I didn't see this issue. So FEMA is trying to lock down a few sites, and then we go to Mr. Sam, Mr. Chuck, and they said we have an issue. These are the requirements you have to do for a mobile home park. I'm just asking it to be waived just for the FEMA group sites, that's it. No other trailer sites, nothing, just the group sites that FEMA's gonna construct.
So Mark, this will only be FEMA trailers. And it will be in 24 months, they gotta be disassembled.
18 to 24. 24 is the max.
Okay.
And then
So
they
it's
have to
just, there'll
pull,
be
they have to
no-
pull
no-
everything out.
They won't be converted to trailer parks in the future.
No, sir.
This is only for the parks that we're putting in. It's
The only ones that constructed by, honestly, it's constructed by Corps of Engineers, not FEMA. But FEMA gives them the contract to do it, and they're ready to move forward, I think, in a couple sites. This is kind of holding up the game a little bit.
How many, do y'all have any idea how many sites or how many trailers we're talking about?
At one of our sites, and don't ask me to mention it because they asked me to hold that back, is 90 acres. They're gonna build it in 50 trailer increments. Whatever the need is, they will add to it. They may do one more site. That one is not in your jurisdiction. It's actually in the city limits of Livingston, so we're waiting on Livingston to see if they will allow it. If they don't allow it, that will mean that there'll be another 50 trailer site at this one location. And they're looking at maybe 2 more around the parish. We're trying to use commercial sites now. We're moving trailers out, putting FEMA trailers in, but there's just not enough of them. Right now, we have 499 folks that are approved and have been vetted for an MHU. We have 25 units in the parish. 20 of those have been hooked up. So they're failing us miserably. I just don't want us to be the problem.
Okay.
Because Monday, it's gonna be a pretty sight for FEMA, I'm just telling you that.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Talbot, seconded by Mr. Jeff Avery to adopt this emergency ordinance. Ms. Sandy, does this,
Mr. Al, do we have to have a public hearing?
Not
Just to
for
open and close a
emergency.
public hearing for an emergency ordinance? No? Okay.
nor time, we have time to introduce it, so, this is the introduction and the adoption. We had a motion by Mr. Talbot, seconded by Mr. Avery. Is there any discussion for or against this ordinance? Please speak now. None being, Ms. Sandy, call for the vote.
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Why don't we take up 11 while they're still here?
11 is coming up next.
Right, just let them give us an update on
Item,
what's happening.
discuss and take update on flood debris cleanup. Can you wanna talk a little bit about that?
I can handle that.
All right, you go ahead.
Well, this
We're,
was,
we're approximately 1/3 of the way through, unless they just keep continually bringing it out to the roadside.
Tell them the number we've reached so far.
We're just bumped over the $7 million mark.
$7 million.
Now,
That's cleanup and tipping fees?
that's everything except for our refrigerators, freezers, that hadn't been, we brought them to a holding site. We're trying to do an amendment. We did not have, a line item in our contract for food. And
They're full of them.
Yeah, they're full.
there was only, I think, one contract in the state of Louisiana that listed food. It's just not something we normally deal with. So we're trying to get an amendment approved, through FEMA and LLA now. And once we do that, we'll attack that issue. The only thing I see that's gonna cost you more than what we originally thought is DOTD is making one pass, and they will not do the private property.
So they're making one pass on state highways.
Correct. And they will not go off of their right of way to handle the private property cleanup.
So we will have to get it.
So what about like when they came down 1019 and everybody not put all their stuff out, they're not coming back?
Yeah,
Is that
16's the
parish
same
wide?
way. Range Avenue.
Now, here's an issue. We legally cannot pick up on a state right of way.
But yet we
So,
have to get
are
it.
we gonna have to have a cooperative endeavor in place to be able to do this?
We cannot, according to the legislative auditor's office this morning, at 7:30, that was the topic, and they're saying we cannot legally pick up on a state right of way.
So DOT's not, they're not gonna revisit the one time?
So when we go pick it up,
They're saying they're not, and they're saying that they will not do the private property cleanup. They received the same waiver that we received.
Right.
And they chose not to implement that. Now,
So-
it is legal for us to go off of that right of way on private property and clean it up. So my point is this, if anyone is bringing anything out, make sure they do not put it on state right of way.
Wow.
Put it on the side of their driveway.
So
before
now
you
after
get
we
a
made
private
them put
entry.
it by as close as they could
Crazy.
get, now they gotta push it back so we can actually not break the law to go get it.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
Okay,
On that note there, we still need an ROE sign.
Yes, sir. That's mandatory.
yeah, everybody's getting
We
all
have
right.
to do that.
No matter
So
what.
Mark,
just
you
make
say a third, have we made the first pass everywhere?
No, sir.
So we still got,
No, sir.
so we still hadn't, there's parts of the area we hadn't had passed one.
Absolutely.
Do you,
And when I told you at the last meeting that we're looking at Christmas, I promise you, we're looking at Christmas.
Yeah, I think you're looking at further than that, really.
Well,
Let's hope by Christmas.
they're bringing a lot of stuff out even after they've gone through.
Right, and the construction debris
You
now
have
is
to go get it.
coming,
Can't.
you know?
Okay.
I got,
Well, you know what to do, so y'all deal.
Mr. Shane Mack?
yeah,
We give you,
Mark.
go ahead.
Yes, sir.
a couple of my constituents have been concerned, some of the roads are very, very narrow, and they're afraid we might not be able to get them gigantic trucks down it. Do we have like crews
sir.
with
They
smaller?
do, yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
they just wanna know if we're gonna come get it. We're gonna get it.
We're gonna get it. If it's
And
on a
what-
parish road,
We're
we're
gonna
gonna pick it up.
And what I've told them is what you told me is, we're gonna keep making passes until we get it all. Is
Until
that-
y'all tell me to stop.
Well, keep us up to date on as best you can.
I mean-
I know.
Yeah, we're approximately a third unless they continue to bring it out.
The later
That-
we get, the
now,
more phone calls we're
understand,
getting too.
That is not counting
Yes, sir.
the
I can
private
promise
property
that's
on the
true.
state road.
Okay.
And wait, I got
Yeah,
one more
cause
thing
at first
too.
we had nothing to do with that.
Well, yeah.
So just in your best guesstimate, you're saying we had 7 million, you think we're a third through. So you thinking it's a 21, $22 million cleanup just on trash pickup and disposal?
Yes.
And our share would be
Not
two
counting
point
white
one
goods.
million? Not counting white goods,
Yeah.
not counting private state roads.
We're looking at 30.
We had a
Maybe.
question from the audience real quick. Did you want to ask a question?
Y'all are probably way ahead over here, but I'm thinking Baton Rouge, that they decided that they would allow these companies to go up to 30 feet on private property. And if it's-
That's what we do.
They didn't decide that. FEMA made that decision because we asked for it. They allowed us approximately 30 feet. If that pile continues on for 60 feet, they said if it's a continuous pile, we can go with it. But now understand, it's already happened. If it's a 20-foot area and then it's a sidewalk and the pile continues, can't touch the part behind the sidewalk. It's got to be a continuous pile. So when you're talking to folks, make sure they understand that.
So if you're inside the city or inside the.
Cover the sidewalk.
Well, I shouldn't
Cover
say-
sidewalk up.
Have we come up with anything on
Yeah,
mobile homes that need to be picked up?
Whew, that's-
I get calls on,
So glad.
yeah, I get calls on that. I'm glad you,
I'm glad you asked that.
Can you repeat
I'm not
the,
gonna mention it.
yeah, repeat the question, please?
mobile homes that are destroyed.
destroyed, that, I mean, I have people calling saying, are we gonna pick them up, or?
Well, let me tell you, there's an opportunity, that was one of my texts to the governor when he was in DC last week, sitting down with Fugate. Fugate said, absolutely, you can do mobile homes. You have 2 things you must do. One is get a letter from the Department of Health and Hospitals for the state of Louisiana saying it is a public health risk because of the mold and stuff. Actually, a mobile home grows mold better than a.
Ooh, in a hurry.
Once you get that, we have to add it in our declaration. We received that from DHH day before yesterday at 10 o'clock at night. The next morning, a new declaration went out. Mr. Layton signed it. We sent it to the state. We're thinking everything is wonderful. Until last night down at Prince Sullivan, when I meet with FEMA and Jerry Stover, the ones that handled that, and I said, where do we stand on it? Jerry turns around and looks at his debris expert and says, did you get this completed? He said, no, sir, we don't have a mechanism to do it. What do you mean you don't have a mechanism to do it? We cannot go on commercial property and get it. So I explained a few things and we left the meeting and they've been working on it today. It's in their council, legal counsel's area. We're waiting for them to make a decision on whether we can do it or not.
Every day it's something.
Oh, it's a
Welcome to
body of
And
work
things
that's moving and
change
growing.
Every day.
You had a question?
It brings up something personally close to home. I have one that's not a primary residence. I would not expect the parish to pay, or, you know, I have thought about getting the SBA loan, trying to get rid of it. But, you know, I mean, I'm not a commercial renter, lives on private property, it's not a primary residence, but I fully expect to pay somebody to haul off his mobile home. You know, so, you know, that's just a thought for me. I mean, other people may feel differently.
I have quite a few of them.
Yeah, I do too. Well, I had a lady that called me and I talked to Mr. Sam about it. She was gonna pay somebody to tear hers down in my district and haul it off, and she just wanted to know where to bring it.
I was giving her
You know.
less than $3,500, and I mean, I'm not working very steadily right now, but I'm in better shape than
It was $7.50 a yard to bring it to the dump.
So let me clarify, recap what your report was. And this is just, I guess, sticking in my mind, and someone else may have something else, but if someone lives on a state highway and the state has already come by there and picked up one time, they will not come back a second time and pick it up.
That's my understanding.
As of right
That is
now.
subject to change with.
I know we're backtracking here, but I know you're on a mobile home thing, but
Yeah, that's kinda hard to believe, right? That they
Yeah.
won't pick up what they're supposed to pick up.
I am meeting with the governor Tuesday, and I will be discussing a lot of these things.
But if it's on private, the parish can do it.
Yes, sir.
That is correct.
Furthermore, we have to move it back out of the right of way.
Get it moved back out of it.
Well, did they give a reason? Because we're paying. You know, I don't know how we're paying, but we're gonna be paying for this cleanup because we owe it to our citizens to get this stuff out of the way.
You gotta get it out of the way.
Let me give you a little bit of hope, just a glimmer. If the state doesn't suck up all the mitigation funds to build the diversion canal and everything, mitigation comes down through GOSEP, it can be through HUD, it can be through CDBG, it can be, several agencies. If it comes in through CDBG, we may be able to leverage that to cover our 10% cost share. So, keep your
Well,
fingers
good
crossed
luck.
on that.
Thank you.
We're
Good luck.
hoping that's the case.
You know,
That's just a glimmer of hope. Let's see what comes down.
well, this whole thing is just like you said it wasn't a bad week, just a hard week.
Just a busy week.
Yeah.
With any more discussion on debris, let's take one more question from the audience, if you don't mind, real quick.
I just asked, I have a friend that has a mobile home that was flooded, so is there anything available to help her remove the flooded home?
We hope to have this.
That would be a great thing because there's so many. Did you estimate it 11,000?
11,000.
11,000. You know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of mobile homes in my district too that are just sitting there
All
rotting
over the parish.
that the landlords won't clean
I have
up.
a lot in mind.
What do you do with that? If it's a renter in them and a landlord decides just to leave it, is that when we have to go back to where we were starting to see some of this, clean it up, sell it off?
Let's hope that don't happen.
Let's hope it doesn't happen. You're right.
We'll do what we have to take care of
Thank you,
public
ma'am.
interest.
Thank y'all,
President?
appreciate you.
See with that,
Item
these landlords,
with no-
letting these people live there, they have the mold growing in these trailers. What's gonna happen when these people start getting sick then?
I don't know. That's important. We need to make them take.
Next
care of it.
item on the agenda, if we're done with debris cleanup,
I don't know. We're not gonna be done with that. We're gonna be addressing that for a while.
item 12, planning and zoning commission, planning commission recommendations. Mr. Sam DiGirolamo.
Mr. Sam.
Caddyshack Retail Center, you wanna talk about that one?
That's mine.
That's in your district.
That's mine.
Yes, sir. First on the agenda will be the Caddyshack Retail Center. This is in, no, actually, it's in District 3. It's in the school.
Yeah, it's right there across.
It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the preliminary site plan for the Caddyshack Rental Center. It's located on Highway 16, right before Lockhart Crossing.
Yes,
Is that a motion by you, Mr. King?
Okay, yeah, I'll make a motion to go ahead with that.
Motion by Mr. Scooter King.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tracy Girlinghouse. Any more discussion on that one? None being, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, none being, motion carries.
Next on your agenda is minor resub with waivers. Mr. Errol Foss, it's in Mr. Shane Knox district. It's a recommendation of the Livingston Parish Planning Commission to approve the waiver for the additional lots on the servitude for Mr. Errol Foss.
What exactly
You
is it?
want me to give you a little bit more information about this guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. There are two property owners involved here, one servitude. The property is about approximately 300 acres. And we're talking about 12 lots on the servitude. It's right off of Highway 190 between Albany and Holden. We have ran this through, there was some concern about drainage, you know, when you're dividing property. We've ran it through Macklin Taylor and Associates. The property's got so much natural drainage on it, and the lots are so huge that, you know, drainage is just not a problem with this division of property. Like he said, it was approved by the planning commission. Guys, you know, this is not what you call, in my opinion, a true subdivision. This is a division of a large piece of property that is gonna be accessible to people of Livingston Parish to have some good country living out there. We're talking about, you know, lots 20 acres. We're talking about, you know, 5-acre lots. There's only one 3-acre lot. There's it's about a 136-acre lot. Mr. Earl's planning on putting cows on. It's gonna be a good addition. We talked to the city of Albany, and they're planning on putting a good water line in there to, you know, provide the people with utility they need. You know, they're planning on putting a really nice, you know, gravel road down through there, you know, and it's just something that our community needs.
So it's your motion to approve it?
I'm asking
Wait,
for.
what's that waiver for? I mean, what are you?
The waiver
what
is
it
for,
that's
the
not
current,
right?
the current ordinance says that if you have, you can have 9 lots total and 5 lots on a servitude, if all the lots are greater than, or equal to, or greater than 1 acre. If the lots are less than 1 acre, then you can only have 7 total lots and 4 on a servitude. Now, keep in mind, you know, when you're dividing small portions of property, you know, say 2-3 acres, I think that becomes huge because, you know, you've got a lot of people living on top of each other, you know, and you have utilities and things that go into play there, and all that's gotta be planned, engineered, you know, to the T. You know, you've got gravity water issues, you know, that has to be looked at to make sure that doesn't affect people. But when you're dividing 300 acres up into, you know, 12 lots, you know, this is like what we have all over the east side of Livingston Parish, and it's just a good thing for us.
So again, what's the waiver?
The waiver is for more than
The number
5
of lots on
in
the
servitude.
servitude.
Too many lots, too many lots for a minor resub.
Did we
Okay.
not just a month ago have something in your district that we shot down?
Yeah,
No,
thanks.
But I believe we should have shot that one down, but I mean, I'm
This
in
is,
support
this is
Motion by
different.
Mr.
It was a
Shane
little
Mack.
bitty lot.
I second it.
Second by Mr. Talbot, discussion, Mr. Girlinghouse.
Typically, I'm not for waivers on things like that. I believe these are in place for a reason, and that's to keep you, if you want to change something, you change the ordinance. But in this particular case, I mean, I believe the spirit of the ordinance is what you said, to keep the
Right, yeah.
keep the lots from being so jammed up on top of each other. I mean, I'm looking at some of these lots, 9, 5 acres. So I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Max.
Appreciate you.
Any more discussion? None being, we have a motion by Mr. Mack, second by Mr. Talbot. Ms. Sandy, would you call for the vote?
Mr. King?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Talbot?
Yes.
Mr. Ard?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Girlinghouse?
Yes.
Mr. Averett?
Yes.
Mr. Mack?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. DiGirolamo. Appreciate it very much.
Appreciate
Item
it, Sam.
13 is,
Oh, yeah.
to amend the policy and procedures for the Livingston Parish Council Office regarding public hearings. This was, I think, requested by Mr. Mack, but Ms. Sandy had, I think, informed us what was as far as that we adopted an ordinance a couple meetings ago regarding public hearings, and our policy and procedure manual is not up to date with our new ordinance that we adopt. So what we'll do is just get a motion to allow Ms. Sandy to amend the
Right,
policy and
and these
procedure.
changes are needed to reflect current working practices that's currently being carried out.
That's just housekeeping.
Yes.
Okay.
Motion by Mr. Shane Mack,
That's right.
second by Mr. Girlinghouse. Any discussion? None being, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 14, we're pulling from the agenda, just because it's not ready yet. Item 15 is discuss official journal publication deadlines. This was requested by the Frog.
Well, I don't know if y'all realize it, but based on the fact that the Livingston Parish News is only publishing on Thursday, and their deadline is noon Monday. To meet the current way the rules are set up, we have to have our council agenda ready for noon.
I know it's hard, I know it's hard, but it's,
I mean, I understand, but basically what it amounts to is, you know, the girls are off tomorrow, they're on a 4-day work week, so they're not in the office Friday, Saturday and Sunday's a weekend. So, you know, we've got to have everything we wanna discuss in place by noon Monday. Now, we've had two agendas.
for you, that's hard.
I mean, I understand, but we've had two addendums this week, you know, already. Right. I mean, this one.
Because of
Look, 3 of them. I only had something to do with one of them.
Oh, but one,
I'm
baby.
sorry, I just actually got one.
You figured it?
I'm proud.
But the fact of the matter is, the addendums we're posting online. So my question is, and it's not, I'm not expecting an answer tonight. And I know why Livingston Parish News is publishing on Thursday, because then they run all their ads for their customers, and it makes more financial sense for them to you know, to have a Thursday publication over a Sunday publication. I perfectly understand
I'm getting both of them.
You getting the Sunday paper?
Johnny, y'all doing
Comes
two,
on.
or do you know?
They still do
Still
it too.
doing
I'm getting
two
them
for
every
now.
week.
Well,
All
then
of this discussion.
Wait a second, well, then why is they sent us the email that said our cutoff was at noon on Monday.
Pardon?
They printing it
Gary.
out of state.
Again, you jumped the gun.
Oh, wait a second, they sent us the email, why'd they send us the email cutting our deadline off at noon on Monday?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Okay, 3 o'clock.
You have to ask the natural.
You can't put
Good
answer.
Yeah, let's not put him.
That was a good answer right there.
So do we need to table this
Didn't we
until a
just-
later date?
Yeah, we
That's
should
fine.
do our
Okay,
homework.
yeah, let's table it,
I
cause,
mean,
till we get,
I read the email.
The
I mean,
real
I did too,
question
I
is,
did
do we
too.
have to have our agenda items in on Monday at 12 o'clock?
No, because we can.
at 3 o'clock.
Oh, my bad.
That still don't help us
Before
in.
we bring it to the council, we could talk about this and
We
get a
did.
plan.
You just weren't there. I'm kidding, man. I'm playing with you.
Item 16, committee reports, finance committee recommendations. Mr. Talbot?
Finance committee met tonight, we're expecting the budget before the end of the month to be delivered to the council. It's not gonna be as accurate as we normally would have expected, but, you know, revenue's gonna change. We don't know what some expenditures are gonna be before the end of the year, but, you know, it's gonna be a work in progress, and hopefully by the last meeting of December, it'll be somewhat representative of what actually happened during 2016 and what we expect in 2017. Jennifer is currently working on the RFQs for our auditor that we need to have in place before, you know, the end of the year, because they need to be around for the first to do the counting of equipment and inventory, that type of stuff.
Did she talk about the jail, how it's
The jail is progressing. It is, we don't have a clue how much it's gonna cost. We know what it's costing us a day.
Said they're just now
They're
ordering
still-
replacement
They're ordering
stuff.
replacement
Yeah.
stuff.
They're
and
still
they're
kind of
just-
dealing with insurance and what
Insurance
insurance is
and
gonna
that kind of
cover. what-
But we're not cut as deep as we were.
I think
Oh,
we
no,
still
we're
are,
still-
same
we're still
17,
getting
5
Still
a
the
day.
same.
The inmates have been brought back. I mean, we had all our people
Well, we
back.
got like 120,
Trustees.
DOCs, trustee type.
Yeah.
We have a camera issue, security issues that's not allowing us to go to full capacity.
That's the only
Until we
reason.
get that resolved, I
Okay.
think we're still hemorrhaging pretty
Pretty
good
bad.
on the jail.
That's
Well,
right.
thank you for keeping
Flood.
us up on that. Mr. Shane, did you have anything for ordinance committees?
Is that all you
Not
had?
so much. Mr. Algerone? Nothing for us, attorney. Is there any final discussions, Mr. Bubba Harris?
No, I don't have anything.
Motion by Mr. Jeff Avery to adjourn the meeting. Second by Mr. Bubba Harris. Any discussion? None being all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. This meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, gentlemen.